It reads 0.14 microsievert, which is almost the same as when we were in the city center of Kiev. Something is insane about this zone here. Alright, I want to show you a sign that I know should be familiar to you. It's the city of Pripyat. So this is the city that was built in 1970. You know what? I'm taking off my hand. It's too dangerous. I should do like this. You see? Do you hear it? Alright, so this is just the receiver, it's not the emitter. There is the emitter somewhere else. Alright, I lost my group. See if I can find them. Electricity, which is so important in our today's lives, whether it's to power our houses, power our hospitals, cook our meals, or even more importantly, watch your favorite YouTube video like this one and clicking on the like button. Because I'm so aware of the support and the time that you dedicate to me, I want to take you with me today to a very secret place, but a very dangerous place. In fact, it's considered the most dangerous place on earth, without having wars, without having any conflict, but yet the most dangerous place on earth. I name Chernobyl, I name the city of Pripyat, and they name the country of Ukraine. No nuclear course on the planet could be complete without talking about Chernobyl. But in today's video, I'm not only gonna talk about Chernobyl, I'm gonna take you there so you can see what happens and you can see how it looks like. Exactly how many years? 35 years. That means before even I was born. So I'm gonna tell you something that happened before I was born. So in case there is some, how to say this, some imprecisions in the details I'm gonna tell you, well, put it on the back of the fact that I wasn't born at the time and that I'm telling you something based on what others told me. So, before I can take you with me there, I need some fuel. And by fuel I mean this place. It's called Khlebny, and that's where I'm gonna have my breakfast. But I have only 20 minutes because I gotta be in Independence Square before 8 AM so they can check my passport, because without passport, no Chernobyl. As simple as this. See you later, my friends. Alright, we're in 016 in Kiev. Or still in the city. Alright, even within the city of Kiev, it's different. Now it's reading 0.12 microsievert per hour.
Radiation is still streaming from melted uranium fuel in the destroyed reactor.
Alright, I just arrived to the control checkpoint because it's considered like another country, what they call the exclusion zone, that spans on 30 kilometers if I'm not mistaken, and the checkpoint is the one you see there, and around there is literally nothing. It's an abandoned area. There is absolutely nothing here. I mean, except this bus station that said Dityatki? Yeah, Dityatki. No, Dityatki. It's autumn. It's not the warmest day of the year, but it's a beautiful sky. Wouldn't complain. And this is the queue that you are waiting for. All of these people need to pass the checkpoint that you see there. It's written 21C. I can tell you that it's not the temperature outside. Also, I got something for you. Let me show you. It reads 0.14 microsievert, which is almost the same as when we were in the city center of Kiev. It was also reading kind of 0.14, even more than that. So there is less radiation here. So after one day there, I need to give it back to the authorities so that they will need to check the dose that I have been exposed to it is simply the microsieverts multiplied by the time I would have spent there. It will tell them the dose that are kind of accumulated in me. Now, question for champion. This one, they call it the Geiger meter. Why it's named Geiger? It's named Geiger because the guy who invented it in the year 1908, he invented the principle of it. 1908. His name is Hans Geiger, a German guy. I mean, at the time was the German Empire. And how it works? So inside there is a tube, and in the tube there is an inert gas, something like helium, for example. When that gas detects particles, like particles that are emitted out of a reactive reaction, that gas will become ionized. So in other words, it will conduct electricity. That conduction of electricity, it will trigger a buzzer. That's why even here you hear some beep beep, but when I'll go to kind of more contaminated places, you'll hear it beep like crazy. So that beep is because the inert gas that's made this Geiger meter has conducted electricity. It becomes what you call ionized, right? If it happens, then the buzzer is supplied, the buzzer beeps, and it will tell us how much we got here. So now that you have the scientific explication of the Geiger meter, it wasn't free. I had to rent it for 8 euros per day. It wasn't included in the cost. There are two dogs. I think I've seen them in every YouTube video. Here are they. And they are hanging around here.
Even the poison mushroom that affects as drugs for the most of the wild animals. It could kill human, but not the wild animals. They kind of are used to it.
They say that the Chernobyl happened because of punishment from God. So they built this statue here. It looks like an angel to kind of, you know, decrease the level of Satan here in this land. It's like more religious feedback. So all the names that you see behind me are the names of the cities that were evacuated. The way they disposed these tags here, if you see it, looks like a cross. And the reason why they did that, because all these cities are permanently, or at least for the next 1,000 years, they are dead. So they dispose these signs like crosses from here until there. This is like more than 130 cities that were evacuated and that today are inhabited. So just little precision. Yes, there is no people living here except 100 people who are citizens of Chernobyl and more than 1,000 workers. So the workers are grocery stores workers, and also the people working to put the confinement arch on the Chernobyl reactor 4. And I want to show you something cool. This one. So this is like the map of the entire exclusion zone, and these they are candle holders. They symbolize something, whether it's an abandoned city, or I think the Chernobyl reactor 4 was somewhere here, and it would make sense because you come from there, and this should be the border with Belarus. Alright, lunch is here. The Ukrainian Chernobyl lunch. Bon appétit. Second checkpoint. Probably these are the best roads I've seen in Ukraine.
They started the building of these two reactors.
So this is insane. Along all the way from Kiev until here, it was reading here 0.11, 0.13. Now look at this. 0.64. And do you know why? It's because of that one right there. That's the reactor number 4 that exploded in Chernobyl in 1986, and what you see on it is what they call the safe confinement arch. This is the new arch. It's in fact the largest, heaviest removable kind of construction ever built and ever designed here in Ukraine, not only in Ukraine, in the entire world. And it is meant to protect us from the radiation that can come from the reactor 4 that is still active. This is reactor number 5, the one that you can see. They didn't have time to finish it, but there's another one there that you can see because they didn't really build it enough so you can see it. So 5, and that's the other one is 6. And what you see there is the cooling tower for the reactor. These are, you could see reactor 1 and 2 and 3, I can't really see it. And that one with the huge sarcophagus, that's the safe confinement shield, that's number 4. And this is the cooling river, because usually they would build the power plants near a river. So yeah, usually they were like used to, I mean, even until today. So because if you want to like build the nuclear power plant, you need a source of water. That's going to be your cooling water. And this is the river that was used for the cooling.
The nuclear power plants, smaller one, but still got them.
Alright, this is as close as I can get from the safe confinement shield. Let me show you that. So as you can see, it's huge, it's just massive. It's longer than 2 Boeing 747, and it is actually heavier than 3 Eiffel Towers. So how they managed to do it? Well, it was impossible to build it right on the reactor 4 because it's so radioactive, so they built it 300 meters away, and then they simply slide it over the reactor number 4 that is sitting under that. Alright, so we read 0.71, which is as much as we read before, so that's not, I would say, that bad. It means that the safe confinement works. Alright, you see, now it becomes normal 0.75. It's still 0.9. This is like 9 times what we got in Kiev, but just a few feet away there, it's just crazy. 1.1, 1.14, 132, 190, 6. Something is insane about this zone here.
Якщо взяти його, я знаю, де сенсор, бачком і трошки ближче.
7, 9. Alright, I want to show you a sign that I know should be familiar to you. It's the city of Pripyat. So this is the city that was built in 1970 and that was meant to host the workers and the people who were working here. Here I see a bus. Looks like it stopped in time. Maybe it was used at the time, I don't know. And now we are going to the city of Pripyat. Alright, I arrived to what's called, or what was known to be the center of Pripyat town. So the street that you see here, the buses are hiding it, it's called Lenin Street. And there it's one of the famous phone cabins that is still standing. Yep, totally looted. And now I'm gonna take you to other places of Pripyat that hopefully can help you imagine how life looks at the time, even though there has been a lot of looting here. But again, people left the city of Pripyat with the idea that they are leaving only for 3 days. They never returned, and their stuff is still here because when you are told that you have to live only for 3 days, you don't take everything. So their houses were like kind of frozen in time. You know where we're going, right? Alright, I have a big disappointment. I can't go inside. I want to go inside to see how life was 35 years ago, before even I was born. But no, this the guide we have, he says no, you can't go inside, because I think I kind of agree with him, because look, everything is totally abandoned and barely standing together. I feel like it's a failed Chernobyl tour. Yeah, you know what? I'm taking off my hand. It's too dangerous. I felt my hand is getting warmer. Alright, there is a building that became even like too famous. It's this one here, and you recognize the Soviet Union symbol emblem on it. And there are a lot of abandoned buildings like this one. This one, I think it was for was it like theater, I think? I'm not sure. Alright, I'm in Chernobyl, and the background is totally unrelated to the topic of this video. If you prefer the background, you get that flywheel there. I wanted to show you something interesting. Chernobyl, in fact, 1000 times more radiation than the Hiroshima bomb. You may think that everything is dead, but I'm gonna show you something interesting. See this tree? Doesn't look like it's totally dead. Still produces some fruits that are red. Which I'm gonna taste. No, don't do that if you come to Chernobyl. Don't touch anything, and especially don't eat anything, because the soil is contaminated. This is where the kids would play. I mean, kids and parents. You see, whenever I get closer to the metallic parts, two. So this part here is definitely contaminated. Here we go. It went crazy. I should do like this. You see? I love this. I love this. Even in a contaminated place, everything can happen in Ukraine. So, back to our topic. The power plant of Chernobyl had 4 reactors. Each one was called RBMK 1000. The 1000 stands for 1000 megawatt, which means each reactor can produce up to 1 gigawatt. Now the thing is, of course, this wasn't the largest power plant. It was just after the one of Leningrad. But the Soviet scientists, they saw really big at the time. They wanted to make it the largest nuclear power plant in the Soviet Union, probably in the entire world. So that's why they were building reactor 5 and 6. Therefore, if the reactor 5 and 6 would have been built, that would have brought the capacity, the production capacity, to 6 gigawatts, so 6,000 megawatts. And that never happened. The reason why is because of reactor number 4, this was accomplished in 1983, exploded on April 26. So from that day on, even though the Soviet Union tried to just say no, it's not a big deal, it's not a big problem, for I think the first official statement from the Soviet Union kind of, I would say, leadership was on May 14th, 1986. That's like 18 days after the disaster of Chernobyl. I'm going to a place very abandoned. It's the stadium. So this is the inside of it. Surprised they didn't steal the marble. This looks like good stuff. Cables. I think the view is nice on the top. Alright, so you got the explanation. This is like the stadium, and what you got here is where people would play, like athletes, and they would run around, and this was a light tower for the stadium. So the thing is that now we're in autumn, so we can see like the trees are kind of, they lost their leaves, so we can see behind them, and what you see there is the kind of the constructions, the building where people were used to live. And it's unfortunate that I can't go there because the guy wouldn't allow me to. So now I'm gonna try to get closer to where the people were actually living. So I say that Pripyat was meant to be a modern Soviet city, and when you look at the constructions, they did their best, because just check these buildings out. Look here, you know, they're not very tall, not like these ugly Soviet towers. Here, how many floors do we have here? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's like kind of 9, 10 stories building, and yeah, in the middle of nature, in the middle of forest, not far from the power plant. What one can expect more, you know? Having job, living in the middle of nature, having schools, having a theater, having sports equipment, having everything you need. So I get it why they were saying like it's kind of more modern. It's to symbolize that the Soviet Union was something great. That's how it looks like now. So the Geiger meter, even though like I'm in the middle of Pripyat town, the residential area, a few kilometers away from the Chernobyl, 0.47 microsieverts per hour, which is less than 5 times the dose of Kiev. So that's not that dramatic. So what went wrong? In April 26, around 1 a.m, they decided to do a safety test. First illogical thing, how comes that safety test wasn't made before the official start of operation of the RBMK 1000, which is the name of the reactor? Well, the reason why is because they wanted to rush the end of the construction. They said yes, the reactor 4 is working and it's in operation, therefore they rushed that kind of certification process. The safety test that they were trying to do was not meant to be done after the power plant was kind of, you know, delivered and in operation. Here's what they tried to do. A nuclear power plant has, as you can imagine, cooling pumps. Why? Because even if you shut down the reactor, the uranium in the reactor core will still continue to heat. The uranium will not cool immediately after you stop consuming power. Therefore, you need tons of cooling pumps, not only for the operation, but also after the reactor is shut down. So the test was the following. If the reactor stops working, I need to continue supplying the cooling pumps, but the main power supply, which is the reactor, is not working anymore. So what happens is they had a emergency diesel generator that will turn on and supply the cooling pumps. The problem is that diesel generator will not turn on immediately. It will need at least, I think, 60 seconds before to kind of start, etc., and supply the cooling pumps. But who will supply the cooling pumps during the 60 seconds? It can go dramatic, because we need to continue cooling that reactor. The idea here was, if I shut down the reactor, can what we call the flywheel effect, because the reactor, when you shut it down, it will continue to slow down, you know, like ramp down to zero. During that phase of ramping down to zero, that energy produced by the reactor, by the flywheel effect, is it going to be enough to supply the cooling pumps? That was the test, waiting for the emergency diesel generation to start. That's the test that they wanted to perform on April 26, 1986, which they did at 1 a.m. That was the time when they started the test, and that's when things went wrong really badly. Wow. See the shoes of the kids? I think this is the kindergarten. When they tried to do the test, they noticed that the power of the reactor wasn't high enough. So they said, okay, let's increase the power to an acceptable level of it. So when they did so, they saw like a surge of the power. So when they saw that the power was increasing, they said, oh, you know what? Let's cut the whole operation and push the famous button AZ5. So when they pushed the button AZ5, the control rods kind of went down to kill the reaction. But what happens is that there was, during a short amount of time, a huge surge of power. That surge of power is actually what caused the explosion, the first explosion. A few seconds after, a second explosion that kind of blew the top of the reactor out of it. And the rest of the story, we already know it. Now we come to the swimming pool. This is an interesting spot. I heard that they even tried to recommission it after the disaster, but when the Soviet Union collapsed, Ukraine was on its own. They ran out of money. They couldn't do anything with it. Alright, just got in the most secret Soviet installation, and it's just mad what I see here. Here it is. The Duga. It's meant to protect against intercontinental missiles. And the crazy part is the Chernobyl power plant costed like 3 billion rubles. This one here, this massive secret plant, costed 7 billion, and actually it consumed a quarter of the power produced by the Chernobyl power plant. So the two first buildings that we just passed, these were like military buildings. This is more like a kitchen. It was used by the military, and behind is the secret Soviet installation. It's crazy, like you could hear the structure of the tower kinda cracking with the wind, because it's massive. I don't know, I don't know like how to show you this. Do you hear it? Alright, so this is just the receiver, it's not the emitter. There is the emitter somewhere else, and this is the receiver that was kinda meant to detect any intercontinental missile coming to threaten Russia, the Soviet Union. Way bigger than Russia, because at the time the Soviet Union was just massive, and they built it in the Soviet style. Huge, massive. I'm still impressed like how this whole thing is still standing. I asked the guide, he couldn't really tell which year it was built. He says probably just after the city of Pripyat, which was built in 1970. So let's assume this was finished in 1973. Why I'm assuming? Because it was a top secret project. This is 100% operated by the military of the Soviet Union. Let me turn and show you. So nobody knows when it was really finished and constructed, and nobody really knows the cost. I will go with 7 billion rubles versus 3 billion rubles that Chernobyl power plant costed at the time. Just the details and the engineering of it, because this is a high precision thing. We're talking about telecommunication that are supposed to detect intercontinental missiles, so you gotta be accurate to the maybe the nanosecond. Like, just look at the entire details of the engineering. So okay, the structure itself may look like simple, repetitive blocks, but the engineering behind it just look mad, insane. And it's freezing cold. We are only in October. It's even not winter. I can imagine how cold it's gonna be here. -20, I heard, because you are right at the border with the Belarus. Ask Napoleon and he's gonna tell you how cold this area is. Some industrial factory for the military. Alright, I lost my group. See if I can find them. I'm not sure where I am now. I'm following the group. I think they went to this room. No. Ooh, we're allowed to go inside. Check this out. This is where we're going. Is piano. I know that there are still some people living here, like about 100 people living in the Chernobyl. But okay, are they maybe taking electricity from here, distributing it to these houses? Maybe, probably. They say that if you meet animals here, stay away from them, because apparently they eat mushrooms. The mushrooms that grow up here in Chernobyl, and they become nasty. Wow. Here are your computers. You see the capacitors here. Wow, crazy. It looks like a fridge. And for those who watched The Bridge of Death, I guess you recognize HBO. Just found it. Now we gotta go, it's getting dark. It was very interesting to see that chapter of our human history and of the history of science. So this has been said. I enjoyed being with you in Chernobyl, in what's considered the most dangerous place on Earth. Thank you for watching the video. See you later. Do свидания.